in the National Assembly. As you know and you have interacted, that has been my designation. And that is work we did with a lot of dedication. And I am grateful for that opportunity. I am also very grateful to have interacted with many people as I serve as the chairman of the Budget and Appropriations Committee. Of course, working with the Honorable Mary Amase, who was the vice chairperson, and all the other members, all the other 25 members, incorporating myself and the vice chair who make us 27. I am truly grateful for that chance. That chance of serving as the chairman of the Budget and Appropriations Committee made me understand many things that I scarcely understood before. It made me know the workings of government in terms of its levels, its arms, departments and agencies of government, and how they work. And therefore, as much as it was work, it was also a profound learning experience that I am truly grateful for. I am also thankful for the fact that I had trained as an economist some many years back in KU. And when I got the chance to serve as the chairman of the Budget and Appropriations Committee, I had the first-hand learning of how macroeconomic parameters relate with each other. I was able to first-hand experience the things I was learning, and therefore it was also a continuation of a learning experience, and especially in regards to many macroeconomic factors, how inflation is affected by interest rates, how interest rates affect private enterprise, and many other economic parameters that we hear, but they are also far-reaching in terms of how we live, and they are also far-reaching in terms of what our country becomes. And by the way, out of that experience, in the year 2023, I realized I also needed to upgrade a little bit, because I singularly found that our country, yes, have many challenges, but the overarching challenge that we face as a country are economic challenges in nature. And given the chance I was serving in as the chairman of Budget Committee, I decided to also go back to school. I actually started pursuing 2 master's degrees together. One in KU, Master of Economics in Public Policy, and the other one in the University of Nairobi, that is Masters of Arts in Economics. And I've been pursuing those from 2023, attending class physically where I needed to attend physically, and those who offer online also attending class online, and by the way, as a student, not as an MP. And I decided to do that because I also wanted to deepen my knowledge in the economic platform. And the more the reason, I made it my duty to listen in terms of attendance, and also to participate in any other participatory issues that I needed to do as a student. And gratefully, I am actually done with coursework. I am now doing the projects, both of them together, and by the grace of God, I may graduate this year. I am not talking about myself when I talk about going back to school. It is basically because the motivation of pursuing those 2 actually came out of quest to know better, so that the decision I continued to make are optimal, objective, and especially based on things that then would make our country move forward, especially given the pivotal position which I was serving in. And if you look at this table around here, these 2 shelves is actually classwork. All all this you see around here, these are issues around classwork. And I was doing it again, and I'm repeating, because I thought and I still believe even now that it is important that even as we serve in our specific capacities, that we continue to also develop ourselves, to sharpen ourselves, so that we can be making more efficient decisions as leaders. So in a nutshell, I have been very, very I should be very grateful, and I have been very honored by the Kenyan people to have served in that capacity, and especially when our country really needed us to do what we needed to do. Just as snapshot of so that you understand where I'm coming from. This position is very involving, and I am sure many of you have covered us before. Sometimes sleeping in this office, leaving here very early in the morning. Not just myself, also the members of the members you are serving with. But it was also an experience also to learn and know Kenya. There are things we used to do called public participation, where we would choose. We started with 12, we ended up with 20 counties every year, where we would allocate some retro money, actually 100 million per county, and we would then go there to ask Kenyans what they would prefer that we prioritize. The last one, I was privileged to actually travel all the way to Madeira and interact with the people of Madeira, and I am glad that I have had many of such experiences to also relate what we do on the table and how that is far-reaching and how that affects the lives of the Kenyan people. For example, there when we went, the leaders were very categorical. There was a teachers, a TTC, Teachers Training College, and a KMTC, which they told us the entire 100 million to give to those two, because when we go all out to do those things, we specifically look at the impact of how those projects would work, and also by giving preference to what the leadership and the people themselves request us to, or were requesting us to do. Having said that, also for perspective's sake, and allow me to say it because it is how it is. At some point we got too busy, because you remember when you are here in the chairman of budget, you also have to go all out there and talk about the projects you are doing, but also but also on the other side, you are also doing work with CDF. You have colleagues whom you are interacting with as you work around CDF, and therefore at some point I also got too busy, as you could remember. Anyone launching a Masomobora in their place, I would go, and those kind of things. And what I'm trying to say is that at some point I got too busy, and my brothers and sisters, I'm telling you these things not more as a politician but also as a human being. I got too busy at some point that for the last 2.5 years, I actually went to my rural place, our rural home. I went there for the first time in the last 2.5 years in September or October or November of last year, thereabout, in the last quarter of last year. There is the time last year I visited my sister who lives not very far from Nairobi, actually in Vika. So I went there and we were chatting, and I could read her body language. She was thinking, kwani huyu jamaa amepotea ama ni nini? Because I could hardly have gotten time before to actually also do such a thing that looks very small but is also humane to do. So what I'm trying to say is that it has been intense, it has been busy, and I am grateful for that chance, because even in that intensity, it has also been a profound learning experience. I also want to take this opportunity to wish the current chairman of the Budget and Appropriations Committee and the leadership of that committee all the best. I have sat there, I know it is an intense position. It requires you to work very hard, sometimes to the neglect of your constituents, and therefore I would only wish the current chairman all the best as he steers the committee forward, because after all is said and done, whatever he is doing, the success he will get is a success for all Kenyans. And therefore there are things we say because we are politicians, but there are also things we say because we are human beings. As a human being, I wish him all the best, and I want to say that I am grateful for the chance I have had. Maybe to clarify a few things which you may have in your mind, or possibly I can give you that chance to ask them. Maybe I'll wind up by saying that I'm also very grateful. Let me reserve that for you to ask, because I am here, I will ask, or I will answer. Let me also take this chance to thank the people of Kiharu constituency, because to become the chairman of the Budget and Appropriations Committee, the prelude to that is for you to be an MP first. And I don't want to chest thump, but I'm just saying it in humility. I am among the few MPs who, in the last elections, I was elected without producing a single poster. I'm not saying that as bravado, neither am I saying it to prove who I am. I'm saying it in humility, that I'm very, very grateful to the people of Kiharu for that honor, to have served them as a member of parliament. This is my second term, and especially given that there are many landed people in our constituency, but they have given me that honor and privilege to serve as the budget and to serve as their MP, or to serve as our MP as a constituency, and that has opened, or had opened the room for me to serve as the chairman of the Budget and Appropriations Committee. I also want to thank the people of Kenya. What I know is that the positions we hold, and talking about myself, I hold it with a lot of regard. And as I serve the people of Kenya, I want to be grateful because they have also been very supportive. Those who support us by saying something kind, those who correct us because we need to be corrected, and that is the forte that we must always accommodate. Those who criticize, we need also to be criticized so that we can also pull up our socks and do things better. Holistically, I want to thank them. And also for prayers. Maybe many of you, I'll surprise you, but I am one of those politicians, and maybe I'm preempting some of the questions that you may have, who look at life maybe in a slightly different way than maybe majority. I am one person who knows for sure that who I am as Dede Nyoro, I only become because God gives me the power. And therefore, I don't find it within myself to chest thump, to accuse. I only hold the position I have. I try my best to do good out of it. And therefore, I have said that because there are people who we have never interacted, but they pray for us. Praying for us, sometimes we get wisdom that we would not have gotten before, relying on our own selves. And therefore, I am grateful to all Kenyans for the input, because whatever we achieve, or whatever we have achieved it out of all that concerted effort. Maybe only highlighting one thing among the many we have been able to do, and it's just an experience of the things we used to do when I was serving in that capacity. You have to balance among many things, because what happens in resource allocation is that you only need to be optimal. Where can you put money that then will yield most of the outcome? And at some point in the chase for resources and allocations, there was the issue of the JSS teachers, whom you know very well. By then they were called moguls. And I was feeling very compelled then as the chairman of budget that whatever else we are doing, and that was around last time when the issue about resources was very pronounced out of the issues that happened in July. But out of the things we did, among the few that I'm very, very proud of is the confirmation of the JSS teachers to permanent and pensionable terms. It gives me a lot of satisfaction, and especially given that I took it as my burden to make sure that that was done. But I'm not claiming to have done it by myself. It is teamwork among the committee members, teamwork among the other consultations that you need to do as the chairman of budget, which I am very truly grateful for. I want to stop there and pick some questions. I only request, I am a Kenyan, as I said when I was starting. I know, because I don't want to pretend that you as a journalist, there is what you really want me to say today. But I also feel it is important that the things you have said are equally important for the country, and especially the transition. Given the position I held, I used to invite you, you used to cover. I felt it is beholden upon me to also call you when it is time to pack. So if you might, or if I can indulge you, because I'm still here and we are still here, anything else, there is so much time to talk about it. So thank you very much. I open the floor.
In that spirit, last week, Ndindi from Nation. Last week,
you are?
Ndindi from Nation.
Okay.
Last week we saw from Parliament they were saying that you used to be a position as chair to disproportionately allocate much resources to your constituents of Kiharu. What could be your response regarding those accusations by fellow MPs in the Parliament?
Okay. Maybe we can take another one, then I answer, then we take others.
My name is Omolo from West TV. Mine was similar to that, but now that my colleague has asked, maybe as a politician, why do you think you are replaced from that position?
Okay. Yes, my brother.
Yes, Moses on the side here.
You are?
Moses.
Moses from Star. Oh, Moses. Yes, I know you.
You know the country is expectant. When I say that, I know what I mean.
Yes.
Kindly just give us a hint on this expectation.
Okay. We can take one lady. I'll come to you, then we answer. I'm here. Yes, my sister.
Naitwa Millicent kutoka KBC. Umezungumzia mafanikio ambayo umefanya kama mwenyekiti, labda ni yapi ambayo unaweza kusema kama kutekeleza kikamilifu, na pia kuna hili swala la public participation bado ni donda sugu kabisa, halijaweza kushughulikiwa kikamilifu, labda hata wakati unapoondoka ni kitu ambacho unaweza kusema.
Let me answer this so that I don't forget, and then we can answer the others. Dubi from Nation, you've asked about the comments that were made in Parliament last week. I would just implore upon everyone, because I'm not the first person to hold this position, respectively so. You can do an analysis for the past many years that this position has existed, and then try to see and compare for yourself, because many times it's not good to talk about yourself because you are likely to be subjective. To be objective, the data is out there, just check. However, on the same, every politician have their own brand of politics. Myself, I do not answer evil with evil. Neither do I answer insults with insults. Basically, we are all different, and I don't want to purport to know better what I am not, and therefore I am okay as a leader. You cannot continue being provoked and then you dance to the tune. And I also want to say that anger and hatred is too heavy a burden for any leader to carry. And you only carry anger and those kind of other negative emotions to the advantage of the distractors. So it is important then, in politics you draw your line, you know this is the kind of politics I want to play, draw that line, whatever it is, follow through. Secondly, in terms of Wamalwa West TV, on why, you've asked me a very difficult question on why I was repressed. I also don't know. And I am saying it in good faith. I didn't come here to accuse anyone today, or I only came to set the record straight. No one in the leadership of our coalition, from whichever position, has ever called me in regards to the position, in regards to what I need to do better, in regards to what I need to change, in regards to things that needed to be done in a different manner. It's very good for me to put it into record because, as I said, I was holding this position knowing that I was serving Kenyans, so I am also answerable. And in sincerity say, there is no one who has ever called me, decision makers of our coalition, to say anything around this. I read in newspapers about myself the same way you do. And in terms of this position, that's what I mean, and that's the truth. Moses of Star, you know, Moses is a political journalist, I know him. So he's asking me that I need to say something around politics. Moses, I have your number and you have mine, and I want to assure you that when I need to talk politics, I'll call you, and I'm saying it respectfully. I only think that even this is also very important, and situko tu hapa Kenya. I mean, I'm not going anywhere, and Moses is still around. I know your job is not threatened in any way, so we are still in Star. So I'll be glad to also talk about that at the fullness of time. The other thing about Miriam, sorry, Millicent KBC. There are many things she asked about. Yes, I talked about one thing we did. What about the many others that are challenges that remains to be done? Of course, there are many. There are many things that we are work in progress for us as a country. And referencing to the position I was serving, the issue of public debt is a major challenge. The issue of stored projects is a major challenge. So there are many things that are a work in progress. There are others, very important things like confirmation of other people who work for government, like the UHC staff. We had allocated some money before, but there is still some work to be done in terms of more allocation, and so that even those brothers and sisters can also have a chance to be compensated for the service they offer our country. And the other one
was on public participation.
you've talked about public participation. I agree. Kenya is a robust country in terms of hearing your voice, but there is also work to be done in terms of incorporating all citizens, and especially in allocation of resources. There are things that I don't know whether there is a need to it. One of those things is public participation, because it's a continuous process which has to keep on improving, which has to keep on done better, because there is no perfection to it, but we can always polish it and do better about it. We can take another round. Let's talk.
Let me start. If you continued serving as the chair for budget, my name is Stephen Leto, Citizen TV. If you continued serving as the budget chair, will you allocate in the 2025-2026 financial year 72 billion shillings for chapati?
Let me take a few more. Yes, my brother. That cannot be answered alone.
My name is Daniel Sire from Daily Trends. What do you regret as a national leader in terms of what you are doing, the post that you are holding, and because you've spoken about what you achieved, what did you not achieve that you wanted to achieve?
Let me answer those two, because I was to be precise. Leto, I don't know where you got that math from, and I don't know whether you're asking about Kiharu, because we do that in our day schools. We offer that in our day schools once a month. Is it a Kiharu question or a national question? Since I am not here now, let me not hypothesize on what I would do if I was one now. But Burisikia hiyo sorry Aretho. You want to box me in a corner, I'll answer you that in camera. Because I also don't want to deflect from this. It's a good question, but I also don't want to wonder so far. I'll give you that answer later, and I'll also give you a calculator so that you do the right calculations. Daniel from Daily Trades, any regrets? What you could have done better? As I said when I was answering Millicent, budget making as it is in management of leadership is always work in progress. There is no perfection to it. That's why even the most developed countries keep on having new leaders. Otherwise, they could have finished the work and say, sasa tumemaliza, there are no more leaders to be needed. So there is always it's always work in progress to reach where we are headed. He also asked about the regrets. What I believe myself is that I am the sum total of all my experiences, bad and good. And if I want to remove any bad experience from my CV, that is, as a human being, then I am deserting to be who I am. Therefore, very rarely will I have regrets. What I'll have are lessons to do things better. Not about only doing, to treat people better. And if at some point you feel that you've been wronged, I always believe it's an opportunity for you to know how to treat people better when you are at a vantage point. And therefore, no much regret. Yes, sir, my brother.
My name is Mike from ADVERTISE. Now, kwa vile na masuala kadhaa umezungumzia pale kuhusiana na uhusiano wako na wakazi wako wa Kiharu, ulichaguliwa moja kwa moja kwa sababu haukuwa na vibango vile kutoka Kiharu. Vile vile ukasema kwamba hakuna yeyote aliyekupigia simu kuhusiana na kazi yako na uhusiano wako wa kikazi. Na labda uhusiano wako na Rais William Ruto umekuwa vipi? hivi karibuni na labda kabla ya kubanduliwa